With the college football playoff expanding to 12 teams, every team out there has been given a bigger opportunity. However, not by a whole lot. Despite expanding by 8 additional teams, 91% of FBS teams will still miss out. I know it's still early in the season and a lot can happen, but these 13 teams got eliminated from the playoff discussion this weekend. Before we get to today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Before we get to the teams, I want to just say, I did a video like this a couple of weeks ago, and after seeing how the last few weeks have played out, I think that video was a little too premature, just because a lot of those teams lost their first game of the season. They should not have been eliminated from playoff contention. So we're going to pretend like that video never happened, and we're going to start today from scratch. Now, I will include what I talked about in the last video, and that's a clarification on why I have these teams being eliminated from playoff contention. Looking back at the records following championship weekend last year, it looks like you're only able to afford 2 losses, and that's being really generous, hoping there aren't a lot of undefeated teams or 1-loss teams inside that top 12. In 2023, only 12 Power 5 teams had 2 losses following championship weekend. In 2022, that number was also 12 teams. In 2021, it was 11 teams. As you can see, not that many teams finished with 2 or fewer losses following championship weekend. Also, when looking at conference records, a lot of teams playing in their conference title game had either 0 or only 1 conference loss. There were a few instances where a team did play in the conference title game with 2 losses, but for the most part, you can only afford a maximum of 1 conference loss. Alright, enough of all that, let's get to the teams that got eliminated from playoff discussion this weekend. The biggest team was probably Oklahoma State, who fell to Kansas State 42-20. The Cowboys entered last weekend ranked number 20 in the entire country, but they're now 0-2 in Big 12 play. If you look at the Big 12 standings, there are currently 12 teams with a better conference record than Oklahoma State. Even if they somehow win out the rest of the season, I don't think it's going to be enough, especially considering both Utah and Kansas State, 2 teams that are going to be fighting for a Big 12 title berth, have the tiebreaker over Oklahoma State. Mississippi State didn't really have much of a chance considering they were 1-3 entering the weekend, but after losing to Texas by 22 points, the Bulldogs are now 0-2 in conference play, and overall they have 4 losses on the season. I don't care what happens the rest of the way, I don't think a team is making the college football playoff with 4 losses. As expected, it's been a very rough season for UCLA in their debut campaign in the Big Ten. They fell to Oregon 34-13, moving to 1-3 on the season, and they're now 0-2 in conference play. The Big Ten has a lot of good teams ahead of UCLA, so I think it's pretty impossible for the Bruins to find their way to the Big Ten title game at this point. Minnesota entered the weekend 2-2, and they were on the verge of a massive upset victory on the road at number 12 Michigan, but they lost by 3 points, moving to 2-3 on the year and 0-2 in Big Ten play. Had they picked up this victory, they'd be 3-2 on the year and 1-1 in conference play, and they still would have been alive in the playoff discussion. It's been a very rough season for Houston, a team that for some reason has absolutely no offense. They fell at home to number 18 Iowa State, losing 20-0. For Houston, they're now 1-4 on the season, and they're 0-2 in Big 12 play. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't think a team is going to reach the college football playoff with 4 losses. This game was absolutely brutal for Auburn, considering it looked like they were going to win this one, but they blew it late and fell by 6 points. That moved Auburn to 2-3 on the season, but most importantly, 0-2 in SEC play. They would have been 3-2 and 1-1 in conference play, and their playoff hopes still would have been alive. Baylor really made this game interesting late in the 4th quarter because early on, they were getting blown out by BYU, but they ended up losing by 6 points. This dropped them to 2-3 on the season and 0-2 in Big 12 play. With a win, they would have been 3-2 and 1-1 in conference play, but unfortunately for the Baylor Bears, another year of disappointment. Maryland did their best to hang around in this game, but they fell on the road at Indiana 42-28. Now for Maryland, they are still 3-2 on the year, but they are 0-2 in Big Ten play, so it's really difficult to see them overcoming this pretty tough deficit. As of right now, there are 15 teams in the Big Ten that have a better conference record than the Terps, so I don't think it's possible to make that big of a jump. Before we get to the rest of today's video, I'd like to share with you guys how you can make the college football season more exciting and even win some money. I've partnered with Underdog Fantasy to bring you this amazing deal. If you download the Underdog Fantasy app and use promo code Harris, they'll match your first deposit up to $1,000. That's right, they're giving you up to $1,000 of free money. You can choose your favorite players from every game and decide whether or not they'll go higher or lower than their projections. So to add a little extra excitement to every game and win some money, make sure to use promo code Harris for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 at Underdog Fantasy. You guys can also sign up using the link in my description as well. We got to get some group of 5 teams in here, and we're going to start with Western Kentucky. They nearly picked off a pretty big upset on the road at Boston College, but they fell by 1 point. With a lot of these group of 5 teams, conference record isn't even really going to matter because only one team is going to make the cut, and it's going to be the highest ranked team. So with Western Kentucky already having 2 losses this year, I think 2 losses is going to wipe out any group of 5 team. Just a couple weeks ago, Northern Illinois looked to be in the driver's seat to be that group of 5 representative, but they've now lost 2 games and they're 2-2 on the season. They fell on the road this weekend to NC State 24-17. A victory on the road against an ACC team could have been massive for Northern Illinois, but with that second loss, I think they're wiped out as well. Wake Forest fell in a close win at home, losing to Louisiana by 3 points. This wasn't a conference game, but Wake Forest is already 0-1 in conference play. Not to mention, this was the Demon Deacons' 3rd overall loss on the season. Kansas was a top 25 team a couple weeks ago, but how quickly things change. They fell at home to TCU, losing 38-27. For the Jayhawks, they're now 0-2 in conference play, but most importantly, they're now 1-4 on the season. Our final team on today's list is Florida State, who you can make the case was eliminated all the way back in week 1. Well, they're officially eliminated now. They fell on the road to SMU, losing 42-16. For the Seminoles, they're now 1-3 in conference play and 1-4 on the season. I think it's safe to say they're the biggest disappointment in all of college football this season. Well, that wraps it up for today's video. Do you agree that these 13 teams have been eliminated from the college football playoff, or do you think one of these teams still somehow has a realistic chance of making it? I'd love to hear your reasoning in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'm posting college football videos all season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share this video and my channel with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.